Right, so today I want you to turn your plans from yesterday into a piece of writing. Now, you can go back and look at my video from yesterday if you want to remind yourself what I was going to write about. Basically, mine was a story of somebody being chased by an alien spaceship. They go into an asteroid field, they get a bit damaged, but they escape and get home. But I've turned it into a kind of about a page of writing. It's probably a bit less than a page because it doesn't go to the edges and things. Okay, just want to run through some of the things that I've included. So, adverbs and prepositional phrases. You're in year 4, you're very near the end of year 4, and you need to be using quite a lot of these things. It's kind of what makes your writing sound just that bit more interesting. So, all the sentences have got to have a verb in them. It's part of what makes them a sentence. This is going to the adverbs and prepositional phrases. Tell us a bit more about where that verb happens. So in this sentence here, I've put, on his sensor readout, the captain could see the alien ship was gaining on them fast. I could have just written, the captain could see the alien ship was gaining on them fast, but I've said where he saw that. He saw it on his sensor readout, on his screen. Down on this sentence here, the captain saw something that caught his eye, but I've told us where that thing was. A lot of these are prepositions saying where. So, to one side, the captain saw something that caught his eye. Sometimes these need commas. Depends how long they are. Into the field. So, where were they shot? Into the field they were shot. I put on here, my sentence is, the sound of clanging rang throughout the ship and smaller rocks started to hit the hull. But when did that happen? Well, before long, meaning it was quite quickly. And then at this speech sentence here, at the end, I've put, the engineer yelled over the blaring sirens. So how was he doing it? And then down here, towards the end of the ship, towards the final asteroid, ahead. Most of my adverbial phrases are prepositional phrases. As they dropped into the atmosphere of the planet, that tells us when. And then I've got one single, just an adverb with ly on the end. At the end, you could include some more of those. Now, I've got some of those. Simile. Simile's quite a nice one. I've compared the ship taking off to a bolt of lightning. I've compared it sort of zooming around the asteroids to a prima ballerina, which is a sort of professional ballet dancer dancing. In fact, I've almost put a simile and a metaphor there, because like a prima ballerina is a simile, but I've said making it dance, but it isn't really dancing. That bit's almost a metaphor. I say the ship was shook like a toy in the jaws of a giant dog. I haven't said it is in the jaws of a giant dog, I've said it's like that, so it's a simile. And at the end, I said that their home planet was shining like a jewel in the sky. It's a nice simile, just to finish off with. Now, let's talk about speech before we go to subordinate clauses. I've used a fair bit of speech. I've started a new line for a new speaker. I've started with inverted commas, and I've ended the speech with inverted commas. But I've not forgotten these other bits of punctuation. There's always a piece of punctuation before inverted commas. Sometimes it's on the line before, sometimes it's just before it, but there is always something. Now, if your speech goes first, it's either going to be a comma or an exclamation mark, or possibly a question mark, but I haven't got any questions. Now, you can have speech the other way around, where the speech is at the end of the sentence, and that means it can end with a full stop. So, speech properly punctuated. I think I've got one situation where there's speech both sides, and I've got a full stop there. Okay. The last one, which I've not done enough of, and I know I've not done enough, was subordinate clauses. Very important part of being in year 4 is being able to do sentences that aren't just short, simple sentences, and aren't just sentences with coordinating conjunctions, so not just the fanboys one. you'll have some that are for and nor, but, or, yet. So the fanboys coordinating conjunctions. You'll use some of those, and I've used some. I've used and a few times. Some of the more interesting ones of these can be quite good. So it'd be nice to see those. But it's also nice to use some subordinating conjunctions. I've given you a list of subordinating conjunctions in the notes for this lesson, in the attachments. So just try and put a few more sentences in there. I've used even as my subordinating conjunction. An asteroid field would be a good place to hide, even if it be very dangerous. I could have put that whole subordinate clause at the beginning, and I could have put, even if it be very dangerous, an asteroid field would be a good place to hide. So I know it's a subordinate clause that can be swapped around without causing a problem. And here I've put alarms blared as crewmen dashed about making emergency repairs. I could have put, as crewmen dashed around making emergency repairs, comma, alarms blared. So I know it's a subordinate clause because A, it starts with a subordinating conjunction, and B, I could swap it over and put it at the other side. So, those are the things I want you to think about. Adverbs and prepositional phrases. We have done adverbs and prepositional phrases so many times throughout this year now that you shouldn't really need much more of an explanation. Worst comes to the worst, have a quick look on BBC Bite Size, and I think they've probably got an explanation of it just to remind you, but you know, we should be good at this now. Simile, we did a simile lesson quite recently, so that should be quite good. Subordinate clauses, just try and use some words from the list of subordinating conjunctions and they will naturally happen. Speech, just don't forget the extra bits of speech punctuation, so it's not just the inverted commas and a full stop at the end, it's something before all the inverted commas. Quite often a comma when your speech is at the beginning of your sentence. That just leaves us to talk about the structure of it. So my story is split into 4 pieces. So my first paragraph, it looks like more because I've started a new line for a new speaker, but my first paragraph is about why he's on the ship. My captain on the fast vehicle that they're on, the fast machine. So my captain, and I've called him the captain, hence why he's got capital T and capital C, that actually his name is the captain. The captain is on a ship, running away from aliens, and they're going to go as fast as they can. That's what's happening. My problem is that they go into an asteroid field and they start getting hit by asteroids and they start getting holes dug in the side of them. There's my problem. My resolution is that people go and seal up all the holes and they make it out of the asteroid field. And my ending, which is different to my resolution, is that they get home. So them getting home didn't solve the problem of the holes, patching it up solved the problem of the holes. So if you were doing a story about a racing car driver, your first paragraph could be the beginning of the race and why he's racing. The problem could be that somebody crashes into him or he can't get past somebody. The resolution is how they get past them, and then the ending would be them winning the race. So I think your story probably needs to have 4 paragraphs. I've kind of done mine as 3. I really probably should have put a new paragraph there. But that's why we redraft things. That's why we go back and have a look at our work afterwards. Now mine's typed. Yours does need to be joined up handwriting. I know I've not done joined up handwriting on my notes, but I'm writing sideways on the screen. You're writing in a book. You should have proper Year 4 on the line, consistent sized, joined up handwriting. This is probably going to be the last piece of writing you do in Year 4, so let's see how good we can make it. I look forward to reading your stories.